And we're back. I am assuming once again that by the time you're watching this video, you have already watched part 1 and part 2. And if you haven't, I would encourage that you do, so that you don't get lost in between whatever I'm going to explain. I would like us all to be on the same page. So yeah, part 3 is mostly about what are the type of things that the Facebook and Instagram algorithm looks out for. By now you already know what an algorithm is. I demonstrated using these cards how instructions lead to a decision, or rather how the machine decides depending on the instructions it was given, which is basically what an algorithm is. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about the different things that the likes of Facebook and Instagram look out for, and then I'm also going to give you guys quick tips, or rather do's and don'ts, or let's call them hacks, on how you can either work or rather let the algorithm work for you as opposed to against you. Yeah, once again I have my reference cards. So I'll start by what are the 4 factors that determine how your content is ranked, and based on these factors, that's basically how the algorithm gives its instructions. And mind you, there's not just one algorithm, there's multiple algorithms, and it differs depending on the types of content, what features you're using on the platform, and anyway, you get what I'm saying. So the first factor is information about your post. And by information about your post, it's basically your caption, what type of content have you posted, is it an image, a video, where have you posted it, what time have you posted it, what other factors have you included in your post. For instance, have you tagged a location, have you tagged someone, have you used a hashtag, and the list goes on. The second factor that is considered is information about the author. Now the author here is the person who has originally created the content. So if you are the brand page, in this case, you would be the author. The third thing is your activity. Now these platforms actually make money based on how long we stay logged in, and how long we interact with content, how long we explore different features, interact with each other, etc., etc. So basically, the amount of time you spend on these platforms is also taken into consideration. So for instance, you spend, let's say, an hour every day on the platform, then that would be your activity. And also they look at what you do during that hour. Are you simply just scrolling through? Are you actually engaging? Because you see, you can't expect engagement if you yourself are not engaging. And finally, the fourth one is your interaction history. Now, on the interaction history, and this is something I found very interesting, they don't just look at your interaction, they also look at the interaction of your audience. So if your audience has a tendency to like content similar to what you post, then there is a link over there. But if you are heavily targeting me, for example, and I've not shown anything in my interaction history that indicates that I would be interested in what you're posting, even though you've intentionally targeted me, they might not show it to me, or they will put it at a much lower point in my timeline because they don't deem it as a priority for me. And that is why a lot of times we advise our clients to try their best to focus on the audience and less on just content creation, because you might create this awesome piece of content, but then if it's not guided by a consumer insight, the chances of it actually doing well are quite slim. So I'm going to repeat the 4 factors. The first one is information about the post. The second one is information about the author. The third thing is your activity. And the fourth thing is interaction history between yourself and your audience themselves with other people. Now, let's look at the different features, and I'm just going to focus on 3 at the moment, the ones that are really hot right now. The first one is the timeline or feed and stories. Now, these three platform features were designed with one goal and one goal only: to help consumers or users of these platforms get to stay updated with the people they follow. I'm going to repeat that. The timeline, feed, and stories was prioritized for the people you follow. Yeah? And here they look at things like how many people your posts have been reaching, how many interactions you've been getting in terms of likes, comments, shares, DMs, DMs in your messenger as well. So basically, the people that you follow, what is the likelihood of you interacting with them and them interacting back? Now, the reason they prioritized people you follow for these particular placements, the feed, stories, and timeline, is because at some point, the platforms got too crowded with ads, and consumers were complaining that there's too many ads. I don't know what my family is up to. I don't know what my friends are up to, and I follow them. So they had to change how they were ranking content, and they prioritized the people you follow. Now, the second feature, or rather platform or placement, is the explore page. This is very common on Instagram. Now, for the explore page, like the name of the platform feature, is more about discovering new content. Now, this is where they prioritize content from people you do not necessarily follow, but they also look at the type of engagement content is getting before they put it on the explore section. Now, here they look at things like saves, how many people have saved the post, how many people have shared the post, how many people have commented or liked the post. Now, let me give an example. If 5 of the people you follow liked this content, but you don't follow the author of that content, it will show up on your explore page. Chances are, even when you see the post, you will look at the likes section and you will notice 1 or 2 people that you know, because the reason it's there is for you to discover this content, but then they're also playing it safe because your friend liked it, then the chances of you liking it are higher. But there is also the aspect of what is the latest content. So for instance, if a content creator has posted something, let's say an hour ago, and within that 1 hour, it went viral, they will prioritize it on your explore feed, because the logic used there is that in this 1 hour, this content got all this engagement, it must be good. So it's not necessarily just what your people have been liking, but it's also what the community on the platform in general have been liking. And the key factor is how long it took for them to get that engagement. So the faster you can get good engagement, the higher you rank on the explore page. Then let's look at reels. Right now, everyone is talking reels. Everybody wants reels. But the question is, do you really know what you're doing on this feature? Reels are meant for entertainment. They were meant to entertain. So when you're coming up with reels, that's what you need to think of. Prioritize the entertainment aspect of it. And that is why they've enabled you to add things like music. They've enabled you to get creative. You can do different takes of a video and combine it into one. We've seen a lot of challenges going up. There's dance challenges, fashion icons have been using reels in very interesting ways. So basically, even the algorithm looks at reels very differently from the way it views every other content on your feed. So with reels, the priority is entertainment. And here they look at full watch time. And what does full watch time mean? They look at how the duration of the video, or rather the reel, and the likelihood of people watching it from start to finish. So let's say you have a reel that's 30 seconds and people only watch the first 5 and they move on. That's your full watch time. And they average this, by the way. Another thing they look at is which audio track have you been using. As you know, you can click on the audio track from a video and use that sound to create your video. So what they've been doing is they've been prioritizing audio tracks that many people are using. So when you're creating your reels, it's very important for you to think about the audio track that you're using. And also things to avoid. We need to avoid posting too many posts in one row, especially when it comes to the timeline. Because now then you give off this impression that you are spamming your audience. And too low quality content. I know that right now everyone is filming on their phone. I mean, I filmed this on my phone, but quality is still used as a verifying factor, and your content could be ranking very low because of the quality. Remember, at the end of the day, we still want to feel like this piece of content, someone put in work behind it. So it doesn't have to be high definition, but think about a few things. The sound should be well audible. I should be able to hear what you're saying. I should be able to clearly see what you're doing. So quality is still considered a ranking factor. Then we have sensitive issues. And the number one here is politics, racism, violence, and anything that could be considered abuse or abusive in nature. If your content has anything that falls under sensitive issues, you will not only be banned, but you will also be penalized. So whatever content you create in the future, the machine will actually try and rank it as low as possible. Another thing that falls under these sensitive issues is people who post propaganda. And this is usually common during election periods. Then the last thing is watermarks. Now, I am a huge fan of TikTok, and I did realize this personally as well. Any content that I put up on Instagram or Facebook that still has the TikTok watermark doesn't get the same results. And I actually talked about this on my personal page. So yeah, those are the factors that they consider, and those are the things to avoid. Now, let's talk about the things that we should do more of. One, we need to leverage on engaging stickers, especially on our stories. There's so many stickers. You have the slider, you have the quiz, you have the poll, you have a countdown. Anything that will get someone to engage with your story, use it. Two, choose your hashtags wisely. There's a thin line between a trending hashtag and you getting lost in the trend. So don't always go for the big hashtags with a lot of people using it. Try and find somewhere in the middle where it's not too little people, but not also too many, because you risk the chance of your post getting lost. And it needs to be relevant to your content. And then there's the aspect of cross promotion. If you've put up something on your feed, try and share it on stories. Post your reels on reels, but then you can also share that on stories as well. You can do cross promotion between Instagram and Facebook. They really love that. Number 4, monitor your analytics. How many of us are actually using creator or business accounts? If you aren't, I would advise you to switch as soon as possible. The analytics on this version of the account will actually tell you things such as what time you should be posting, based on your audience. It will also tell you the type of content that is best performing for you. And lastly, try out new features. When they launch something new, try it out. I'll ask you this. When is the last time you tried a guide on Instagram? Do you even know what a guide is? I'm going to leave you with that. And see you in the next episode.